The clock is 2 p.m. in Finland at the moment, and we are ready to start with our topics today. My name is Matias Laaksonen, and I work as a design and project specialist here at Lunawood. And I am happy to tell you a little bit more about Lunawood ThermoWood today to you. And of course, we will take a look about Siberian Larch as well, and the differences between these two materials. A couple of words about the platform itself where we are operating today. So we are using a program called Demio. You can use the chat box. You can find it from the upper right corner. Please drop your question there if you have any questions. My dear colleagues on the line, they will also answer your questions, but we will also have a few minutes after the presentation to go through the questions. There is also the handouts section in the upper right corner as well. We have included our Siberian Larch and Lunawood ThermoWood technical comparison leaflet there. You can also find our general brochure as well and the Lunawood collection. Please go through those and you can also download the files to your own computer. Lunawood technical guideline is also available in the handout section. But please use the chat box actively, and we will collect all of the questions, and we will also gather those after the presentation, and we will create a separate PDF with all of the questions and all of the answers. But let's jump into today's topic. I will just share the screen for you so you can see as well. And we are ready to start today's topic. So welcome everyone on the line. We are super happy to see so many people there and to listen and learn more about Lunawood ThermoWood today. We will talk a little bit about ThermoWood, but also about the Siberian Larch. And due to the sanctions against Russia these days, the availability of Siberian Larch has dropped quite significantly recently, and especially when jumping into 2023, the Siberian Larch will no longer be available in Europe. So today we will talk more about ThermoWood and what kind of replacement it is for Siberian Larch, what are the similarities, but also the differences between these two materials. At the first point, we will take a look a little bit about Lunawood as a company. Then we will learn more about ThermoWood itself and what is actually ThermoWood. Then we go through the differences and the similarities between these two products and take a look what are the good benefits of ThermoWood. We will learn more also about the natural weathering during this webinar, and at the end of webinar we will take a look about the digital design tools of Lunawood and also go through the questions. So please drop your questions in the chat box during the webinar. A few words about Lunawood itself. We are the innovative pioneer in thermal modification, and we have grown to be the global softwood ThermoWood market leader. Lunawood turnover last year was 75 million euros, and our annual production capacity is 160,000 cubic meters. We operate in over 60 countries, so our export share is super big, and we have at the moment 140 professionals working here at Lunawood in our head office in Lahti, in central Finland in Iisalmi, but also in the west coast in our Kaskinen mill. Lunawood vision and mission. We want to bring the shooting effect of nature available to all. Our vision is to be the market leader and the forerunner in sustainable decorative wood applications. At the same time, we want to reconnect the nature with urban people. We know that the cities are expanding a lot, and the nature, on the other hand, are getting a bit smaller all the time. So we want to bring the nature back into those hectic and urban environments where are a lot of concrete, a lot of steel, big glass areas. So we want to bring a little bit of nature back to those hectic urban environments. Sustainability is our core. It is basically in everything what we do here at Lunawood. Our raw material comes from the 100% certified Nordic suppliers. And actually, the distance from the local sawmills is approximately 235 kilometers to our factories. We have at the moment a bit over 30 suppliers, everyone from Finland, from Finnish sawmills. Our manufacturing process includes 0% of chemicals. We use only natural methods, heat and steam, so no chemicals are involved. Lunawood carbon footprint is super small, and actually Lunawood works really well as a carbon storage. Lunawood ThermoWood absorbs 5 times more carbon compared to the production emissions. So it is a really good carbon storage and sustainable option for interior materials, cladding materials, but also for landscaping and decking. What is actually ThermoWood? ThermoWood is a registered trademark which may only be used by the member of the International ThermoWood Association. We at Lunawood, we are the co-founders of the association, and the actual production manufacturing method was developed and patented by the Technical Research Center of Finland. In Finland, we call this as VTT. The patented process is audited 3 times a year by external third-party quality control auditor. And for example, the picture on the right-hand side is one of the packages that came out of the kiln. We cut 1 meter piece of each packages, and we sent that piece to our own laboratories where the color, the moisture content, the structure inside the wood is tested. And that is how we maintain the good quality of ThermoWood. We at Lunawood, we produce the Thermo D treatment class, where the D stands for durability, and it's thermally modified in 212 Celsius degrees. And that means that the products are super durable. It can be used inside and outside, and that is a really big thing when working with the architects. They want to have the same profile used inside and outside to make a unified designs throughout the buildings. Thermo D and the whole production method, like I said earlier, it doesn't include any kind of chemicals, only natural methods. When we jump a bit more into today's topic, comparing the Siberian Larch and the Nordic spruce, there are quite many differences, but also a lot of similarities between these two materials. When we check the origin of the wood, Siberian Larch, it comes from the northwestern Russia and western Siberia. The westernmost deposits can be found near Lake Äänisjärvi. Siberian Larch is also known as a Russian larch. It comes from the forest that grows really slowly, and especially in the climate, cold climate conditions. The trees grows to 70 to 80 years, which is really slow growing time for a tree. But when we compare to Nordic spruce and our raw material, what we use in our production, all of our raw materials comes from well-managed and BEFC certified Finnish forests. And actually in Finland, we have this super old Finnish Forest Act. It was passed in 1886, and it actually means that every time when you cut one tree, you need to seed and plant 4 new ones. So that is the circulation, how we manage our forest really well, how we can maintain that our forest grows more than we harvest. In Finland, the approximate grow time for a tree is 80 to 100 years before harvesting. And that is because we have really less light in a year, and our light period is super short. And of course, every plant, every tree, they need to have a lot of light to grow. So that's why our forests in Finland grows really slowly. Of course, the thermal modification process takes place in Finland as well. You can see the Finnish map in the slide, and you can see that our bigger production unit is located in Iisalmi in the central Finland. The second one is located in Kaskinen in West Coast, and our head office is located in Lahti, nearby Helsinki area. When we talk about the technical properties of these two materials, there are similarities, but of course quite big differences as well. When we compare the density of the products, the density in Siberian Larch is much higher compared to Lunawood ThermoWood. That is why also Lunawood is recommended only for decorative surfaces. It can't stand the load bearing and heavy weights, and that's why it is only for decorative surfaces. One of the biggest differences is also the equilibrium moisture content. when comparing Siberian Larch and Lunawood ThermoWood, there is actually quite a big difference. Due to the thermal modification process, almost all of the moisture is taken out from the timber. But after we cool the kiln, we adjust the moisture content level back to the 7.3%. That is the approximate number. When comparing to Siberian Larch, the number is 12%. So there is a quite big difference. And the moisture inside the wood makes basically the twisting and swelling and shrinking. And when the moisture content level is low, of course, the dimensional stability increases a lot. Siberian Larch, it's highly resinous wood, comparing to Lunawood ThermoWood, which is basically resin-free. And the resin is one big thing in the healthy benefits when using ThermoWood, for example, in interiors. Resin is basically the toxic for allergic people. And when the resin is removed, of course, it gives much more healthy option for interior applications as well, but also when talking about surface treatments, coatings, paintings, it gives a really good platform for various high-quality coatings. Thermal conductivity is almost in the same level, and it is actually really good because ThermoWood, for example, it can be used in the window frames, in door mechanisms, but also, for example, as sauna benches. And I have heard quite many stories when the people are going, for example, into sauna, they are sitting on the benches. ThermoWood products actually feel much more comfortable compared to standard timber because of the thermal and the moisture content level of the timber. But what is the biggest difference between these two is this dimensional stability. For example, in Siberian Larch, 145 millimeter wide cladding board can vary even 5 millimeters through the seasons. When comparing to Lunawood ThermoWood, where the moisture content level is super low, the dimensional stability is really, really high level. And when talking about with the architects, for example, if they have really, and quite often they have really exact detail projects and mitre corners, those kind of really nice details, they need to have dimensionally stable products. The proportion of hardwood varies in Siberian Larch quite a lot because the log is stanked sawn. But in Lunawood ThermoWood, the share of hardwood is really high because the log is center cut. And the hardwood is basically the only part of the log that can be used in thermal modification. That is the most strongest part of the log. Siberian Larch, yes, it's also known to have quite a lot of end splits, phase checks, occasional resin bleed, and some distortion as natural characteristics. And when talking about the surface treatments, again, Siberian Larch is not suitable for surface treatments, but like I said about the resin freeness, the dimensional stability, ThermoWood is really good base for various coatings. It can be surface treated or left untreated totally. Here is a good comparison technical data set between these two products as well. The dimensional stability, how we talk in the previous page, it's much higher level with Lunawood ThermoWood products. The durability class varies also. Siberian Larch, it belongs to class 3, which is moderately durable. Lunawood ThermoWood, on the other hand, it belongs to class 2, which means that the products are durable. And it basically means that the products can be used outside without surface treatment, where the timber itself gets affected to the different kind of climate conditions, rains, salty winds, snow, ice, sandy winds, for example. So there is a bit differences between the durability classes. Delamination and cracking, those are the things that can be found with Siberian Larch. But for example, with the Lunawood ThermoWood, there is no cracking, there's no delamination that can be found. And quite many families ask from us that, is it safe, for example, for the children to take their shoes off and go barefoot, for example, on the ThermoWood decking? And we are always really proud to say that yes, it is safe. Both of these materials have really low maintenance. They don't necessarily require big services or maintenance things to do. Both of these products also graze naturally. They have really beautiful natural weathering processes. Both of these products as well, they include knots. And when the material is natural, of course it have knots. Knots are a natural part of the timber. The life cycle is in the same level between these two, which is 20 to 30 years. We already talk about the availability, and in the future, Siberian Larch will no longer be available in Europe, and it affects quite a lot when working with the projects. It is quite difficult to estimate about the availabilities, but when talking about Lunawood ThermoWood, especially thermally modified Nordic spruce products, the availability is in really good level. Siberian Larch, it comes from Russia. Lunawood ThermoWood and the Nordic spruce comes from Finland and Sweden. When we jump into visual comparison, when the product have naturally weathered and go to gray color, there is no big differences between these two. But the bigger differences are just after production, basically, when the original colors is still there. Siberian Larch, it has a straw yellow or pale reddish brown color, and it varies quite a lot because how the log are sawn, basically. They have a visibly marked annual rings, and the special grain and texture thanks to the wood's density as well. Depending on the grade chosen, basically the amount of the knots varies quite a lot in the Siberian Larch boards. But of course, it also turns into silver gray gradually. That is quite a common question that we have, that does Lunawood ThermoWood turn into gray? Because the color and the natural color is quite dark, is quite brown color. And it does, yes it does. So even though the natural color is quite dark, Lunawood will also turn into silverish gray, quite short time period. So Lunawood has a unified color throughout the product. And it means that if there is, for example, as a decking profile, if you fell red wine or some stains on top of the decking, you can basically sand the surface. So the natural brown color will pop up from the sanded area, but it will also turn into silverish gray again. Nordic spruce has round knots because we use only the hard side and the center cut of the log. And when the wood is left untreated, it will turn gradually into silver gray color. We have collected few projects from Siberian Larch, but also from Lunawood ThermoWood. And actually, as you can see, there is no big differences in the visual outlook between these two products. The picture on the right-hand side is from Spain, where the climate conditions might be quite challenging because, of course, the really humid and hot environments, but also sometimes there might be quite cold weathers as well. That's why, for example, in Spain, ThermoWood is really a good material for these kind of exact detailed buildings and good material for architects to use. This is a good comparison between the products because, once again, the visual outlook is quite similar. Both of the products has quite big amount of knots. Lunawood ThermoWood has much more round knots. For example, this triple product that is used in the project on the right-hand side, Luna Triple has two deep grooves in the one panel, so basically there is 3 patterns in the same product. When the surface has a lot of shapes, of course the knots will blend quite nicely into the product as well. But once again, no big differences. The colors are quite the same. We talk about the differences, how the logs are sawn. And I wanted to have this picture pair because when you see the Siberian Larch project on the left-hand side, you can see that it's quite colorful. there is quite big differences in the colors between the boards. And that is one thing that might happen with Siberian Larch. But when using the Lunawood ThermoWood Nordic spruce products, the whole facade has a uniform brown color. So there might be differences between the boards in Siberian Larch as well. I wanted to also have this interior projects as well. Siberian Larch is not quite often used in interior because of the high resinous content of the timber. And of course, the resin is one of the things that makes, when you basically put the product inside, there is a lot of resin inside. When the resin will dry, of course, there will be some cracks and movements on the boards. But when checking the Lunawood ThermoWood, when there is no resin inside, it is already really stable material for interior use as well. This project is from Brazil, where Luna Triple is used as a sealing material. The same product starts from the outside and goes to inside, and the triple can be found from different locations around the building. So once again, it gives a good option for architect to design unified design inside, outside, throughout the building. But the healthy benefits as well when working in interior projects. It is important thing, for example, the people who are prone to wood-related reactions, they can be surrounded by ThermoWood really easily because there's no resin and moisture inside. Here is a couple of decking profiles as well. All of the Lunawood ThermoWood spruce products comes with the brushed surface, and the brushed surface gives a really nice, natural, and a little bit rustic look for the decking as well. With Lunawood ThermoWood decking, you don't need to have too big gap between the boards because it doesn't move, swell, or shrink. But for example, with the Siberian Larch, you might need to have a little bit more gap between the joints and between the boards to maintain the good quality of the decking because there is this movement in the boards. Lunawood decking profiles have also the Profix hidden fixing system, which can be used in all of our decking profiles. Then you don't need to have visible screws, for example, and the installation is really fast and easy. Then we jump into natural weathering and how Lunawood actually turns into silver gray color. And like I said, we have quite many questions that does it actually turn into silverish gray? And like all timber products, Lunawood will also turn into gray upon exposure to UV light. The silvering effect will be visible in 3 to 6 months, but of course it varies a lot. It depends of the weather conditions outside, where the walls are faced, basically. So there is, of course, differences between the projects, but the approximate time period is 3 to 6 months after installation. If you would like to maintain the brown color of ThermoWood, UV filtered and pigmented wood oils are always recommended to maintain the brown color. Of course, Lunawood is also a natural material, so time may show some fine cracks or splits, but only on the surface of the product. The cracks doesn't go through the product itself. They may only be visible in the surface. I have collected few examples about the natural weathering. This beautiful project is from Denmark. It's a kindergarten project, actually. And the picture on the left-hand side was taken just after the installation, and the brownish color is still there. The picture on the right-hand side was taken 1 year after installation, and you can already see that the project has turned into silverish gray, and it is really smooth and even color throughout the building. It is lovely to see how the only change is the color, and the board itself has maintained their dimensional stability really well. The next project is from Spain, and here the time difference between the pictures is a bit bigger. The picture on the left-hand side was taken in 2015. just after installation. And the second picture was taken in 2021. And this project was installed with the individual Lunawood patterns. And as you can see, there is basically no difference in the technical performances. The only difference is the color. It almost looks like the pictures are Photoshop, but when you see the black areas, you can see that basically in the black areas, there is much more stains and those kind of things on top of the surface. But the ThermoWood itself, the only difference is the color. Individual patterns are still bullet straight and looks really, really beautiful. Spain, of course, it is a quite good place for natural weathering because of the high amount of UV light and sun. The natural graying process, it varies quite a lot actually. Of course, one big thing is where the walls are faced. For example, if the wall is faced to north, the natural graying process, of course, it's much slower compared to the walls that are faced to south. This project is located in Norway, in the mountains of Norway, and the picture on the left-hand side is taken when the building is under construction. There is still this quite brownish color, but it has already turned into much more lighter tone. So even though the factory color is quite dark with Lunawood ThermoWood, it will quite quickly turn into much more lighter colors. There is 2-year difference between these two pictures, so you can see that the facade has already gone through a good natural weathering process. And it is actually a really interesting journey to see how the walls change the color a little bit, how the sun affects for the tone. Sometimes it might be a bit darker, but when there is a lot of sun, a clear sky, the facade will be much more silverish gray. But it is a natural part of the graying process, and it gives really interesting and, of course, sustainable outlook for the building as well. Here is one project from South Africa where the climate conditions can be really, really challenging. The owner of the building, they wanted to have individual patterns. They wanted to have like a natural way to cool the building. And due to the really light weight of Lunawood ThermoWood, it can be used in these kind of movable structures as well, these sliding screening systems. They wanted to left the timber untreated because these individual patterns might be quite tricky to maintain in every 2 years. So they wanted to have a maintenance-free screening systems. As you can see, the individual patterns, they are still bullet straight. They haven't twisted or bent at all. Only change is the color as well. Here is a decking project from Finland. As you can see, even though there is a quite big ceiling on top of the decking, the color has changed really nicely also. These are some things that always needs to be considered when installing, for example, decking. If there is a lot of shadow areas, of course, the natural weathering process might be much lower. But for example, in this project from Finland, the surface has went to really smooth and beautiful silverish gray. What we have actually learned today, why to choose Lunawood ThermoWood. Lunawood raw material, it comes from the sustainable and well-managed Nordic forests, PEFC certified sustainably managed forests. Lunawood has a really small carbon footprint and long life cycle. It doesn't require any surface treatments, and that's why it is low maintenance with the beautiful natural graying as we saw. Lunawood's chemical-free thermomodification process, it basically gives the good properties, similar good properties to ThermoWood compared to Siberian Larch, but much higher durability class. Our production method is quality controlled really carefully, and that is how we can maintain the good quality of our products really well. Lunawood is easy to install, and also it's super lightweight. Lunawood collection, it includes wide selection of profiles for the cladding, for interior, for deckings, for saunas, public buildings, private villas, every kind of wood and decorative surfaces. We want to support architects with our digital design tools. Those can be downloaded free of charge from our website. and those are really good way to test how the Lunawood ThermoWood works in your designs, in your drawings. There is actually quite brand new tool also in our website you might want to check, Lunawood Visualizer. It's a good tool to have the first hint about how Lunawood ThermoWood works in a project. So there are actually 2 facade projects like designed already for you. You can test different kind of products on the facade, and there is also 1 interior project that you can test individual patterns, Luna triple, for example, but also normal kind of tongue and groove profiles. I want really warmly thank all of you for participating. I still would like to remind you to check our social media channels. For example, in YouTube, there is a lot of good webinars that we have recorded previously. If you would like to learn more about Lunawood ThermoWood, you can check our YouTube channel. Instagram page, we publish a lot of good, inspiring projects from all around the world there. So that is a perfect place to be and to get inspired. From Pinterest, you can find already collected files and folders. So please take a look at our Pinterest channel as well. We are here to help you. So if you have any questions, you can drop your questions to our info@lunawood.com email address. There is a lot of good material available in our website as well. So please take a look at the lunawood.com website as well. Many thanks. I think, do we have questions available? Let's see. I haven't seen the questions during the presentation. My colleagues, I think, have already answered quite a lot of those questions. And of course, if you have more questions that pops up to your mind after the presentation, please send those questions to us, for example, via email, and we will get back to you quite as soon as possible. There was a question about the fire treatment, and that is literally quite hot topic at the moment. And Lunawood can be fire treated, and we work with the burn block, for example. Lunawood can be fire treated to achieve the Euroclass level B, and that is basically the highest level that can be achieved with timber products. Lunawood has a level D class after the thermomodification process, which is the same comparing to standard products, timber products, but it can be fire treated to achieve the level B. That is one thing that is good to check with the local fire authorities, and they will help you with the regulations. Is there another good questions? We will also collect all of the questions afterwards and get back to you with the summary. I see a lot of great things from all around the world. There was a question about the Siberian Larch age. We had information about that in the presentation where we talk about how long the Siberian Larch grows, and that is to 60 to 80 years. When comparing to Lunawood ThermoWood, there is a quite big difference because Lunawood, our raw material, grows like 80 to 100 years. But when the profiles is installed, the approximate life cycle is in the same level, which is 20 to 30 years. We at Lunawood, we have the research done by BRE, which declares that our products works easily 30 years. Of course, we have a 20 years history, so there is a good projects as well installed with Lunawood ThermoWood, and the time will show how many decades Lunawood works on the cladding material, but also as a decking. Good. I still want to thank all of you. There is a lot of people online. We are happy to have you here. If you have any questions, please send us an email. We will get back to you shortly. Thank you everyone for participating, and stay tuned. There will be new webinars coming in the future as well. Greetings from Finland. Have a lovely evening or a day or a morning wherever you are joining us today.